There's not too many Nissans I would buy anymore. I'm not a real big fan of CVT transmissions or variable compression turbo engines, and the reliability hasn't exactly been stellar. But in my own personal opinion, there's 3 Nissans that I would buy. Let's get into it now.
Life's too short to drive boring cars.
This here is the first Nissan I would seriously consider buying. This is one of the only ones, really. And we know in the truck market right now, the trucks are suffering. The vast majority of the trucks in any market, full-size, small trucks, are all struggling with durability. Turbo engines, direct injection with carbon fouling and cylinder deactivation problems and rod bearing failures. And there's no shortage of finding recalls all over the industry for trucks of almost every single brand, except for this one right here. We have the Nissan Frontier. Yes, the Nissan Frontier is one of those trucks. It doesn't rely on flash and pizzazz. It's not the truck that's going to get the most attention at a car show or car meet. But if you want a truck that's likely going to get you around the neighborhood, it's going to get your work duties done, and it's going to tow effectively. I mean, first of all, let's talk about that. I mean, you can haul a lot in the box here for starters. That rear slider is now standard. The tow capacity of a lot of these trucks now, when maximum equipped, you can go almost up to 7,150 pounds. It can tow almost as much as a full-size truck did a few short years ago. So while this is a smaller truck, it can do heavy truck work. So we circle around, we have the Nissan Pro 4X, and I love the Pro 4X. It definitely comes with some great aftermarket rubber. Look, you have these military grade, almost utilitarian type wheels. Pro right there. Lots of decals, and it definitely has a very sporting stance to it. It doesn't get as much flair and popularity as, you know, the Tacoma by Toyota. Toyota even now has gone with that 2.4 liter turbo 4, and even though it's a great truck and it's a pretty truck, the question of durability and longevity of the new Toyota Tacoma is up for grabs. I mean, right here we have a truck that clearly is sticking with the old school, and it's the old school trucks like this that to me represents something of a dying breed, and that's a big reason why I would buy this. The vast majority of the truck is much better than you're finding in the rest of the market, because here you get a 9-speed torque converter automatic transmission. That's right, no CVTs here. And when you're talking about Nissan, a lot of the Nissans, like these vehicles, Kicks, the Nissan Sentras, the Nissan Rogues, are all sporting CVT transmissions or a Jatco transmission. And even though there's been revisions and they have gotten better, the vast majority of these vehicles have had a significant issue. Transmissions that burn out. You put too much torque to them, and poof, all of a sudden up in smoke. It's weird noise, check engine light, and you're taking the car to the shop. And of course, follow that up with about a $6,000 or $7,000 bill to fix a transmission. They just weren't not built for durability. Nissan switched things up and started utilizing more of these 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder engines that are VC, variable compression engines. There's been problems, oil consumption, engine failures. And while some of them are holding up well, instead of using just a standard connecting rod, they go use a series of joints and fittings to actually give it this variable compression, which sounds great and innovative in theory, but it's just more moving parts, and from a manufacturer that tries too many things all at once and finds themselves falling on their face. Big reason why I love this truck, it's one of the last of a dying breed. 3.8 liter naturally aspirated engine under the hood gives you about 310 horsepower and almost 290 pound-feet of torque, which gives it way more than enough power and performance to get the vehicle down the road reliably. And you know what? You're dealing with the timing chain. There's no belts here, so you're dealing with a naturally aspirated V6 torque converter automatic transmission, a standard set of technology, and it's not technology overload in these vehicles either. They're not relying on hybridization, they're not relying on all kinds of aluminum body panels, they're not relying on a lot of tech that a lot of these manufacturers are going with in the trucks, and now they're feeling the burn. Even cylinder deactivation is wiping out many GM 5.3s. A lot of these trucks now are simple, and some people would call them dinosaurs. I call them a win. A win in today's market where everything's turbo 3s, turbo 4s, direct injection, hybridization, and vehicles that are just overly complex. Frontiers have had some issues along the way. Some of the older generation Frontiers had transmission problems where coolant could mix into the transmission and wipe out the transmission. Well, that was a thing many years ago. Today we have a model that, while maybe nothing's perfect, because really nothing is, the vast majority of these do not have any chronic problem, nothing major. Nothing that you can find, like typically when you look up recalls and you're finding Ford dropping valves on the intake, or you're seeing GM and they're losing their rockers, or you're looking GM and their 6.2 LID7s, or Toyota and their 3.4 liter twin turbo V6s are blowing up left, right, and center. You don't hear those kind of problems. All you're hearing is on the odd forum, okay, so one guy had to reboot, maybe had a glitchy electrical component or some little nickel and dime issue. The vast majority of it, if you take care of it, is a simple engine, simple setup, and that's exactly why this is one of the few Nissans I would buy, the Frontier. And the next Nissan that I would seriously buy, even as a non-enthusiast, you have to appreciate what they've done. I mean, cars like this have absolutely been demolishing even the Porsche 911 turbos for years. 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. All-wheel drive that's variable, so it transitions torque from corner to corner, and it can put as much as 50% of the torque to the front wheels if there's enough wheel spin back here. Now, it's predominantly a rear-wheel drive sports car, and under launch control conditions, this will definitely put 50 front, 50 back to maximize the acceleration when you're trying to drop the hammer and send this thing on its merry way. What makes this so impressive? Well, other than a whole host of technology, this has a 3.8 liter twin turbo V6, very loosely based what we see in the Frontier. This is a highly strung, highly tuned version that produces anywhere from 565 horsepower up to as much as 600 horsepower in the Nismo and Track editions. That, of course, couples up through a 6-speed dual clutch, double clutch gearbox. You know, you've got carbon fiber wings, you've got massive quad exhaust tips on the bottom of this vehicle, big beautiful taillights. This vehicle definitely stands out. When it drives down the road, you see it, you hear it, and you can appreciate this. And I love the GTR. I love it for its rawness, its pureness, and the fact that you have supercar performance here without supercar money. Now, these aren't cheap. Nobody's pretending. It's not a base model Civic. These are going to cost significant money, and if you abuse them, they have been known to break. There's been some transmission issues on earlier generations where people have been abusive with the engines, try to drop the hammer and do the launch controls. But generally, if you drive them like a spirited fashion, like they're meant to be, and you drive them even fairly aggressively on the track, they will tolerate it. Look at the fold-away handles here. Of course, no sunroof on the top of this one, but love these gold rims. The GTR R35, like we're looking at right here, is certainly the end of the line for some of the best sports cars that you can possibly imagine. This is one of those biggest and most advanced enthusiast cars on the planet today. I absolutely would be foolish to overlook this vehicle. I would love to have one. Prices have gone up, and I truly believe they're going to continue rising. Now that the end of the road, there's been talk about another generation coming out hybridized or some variation of an electric. This is the last of the ICE version of these Nissan GTRs that you're likely going to see. This is definitely a keeper, and one that if you love cars and you appreciate the performance car without worrying about the brand name and having Porsche or Ferrari or Lamborghini on it, this one here is definitely one that you have to look at. I love this car, 3.8 liters of turbocharged Fury. The durability is solid. The performance is amazing. At 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, there's almost nothing like it. This car, as old as some of these are, still outshadows, outpaces, and makes even a modern day Corvette blush. I mean, you remember Top Gear and Jeremy Clarkson? He took it on a track, but because it pulled such hard G's, he ended up cracking his neck and had to get hauled off in an ambulance, because these pull hard in the corners, they pull hard in a straight line, and they also have the big clamping force with the big brakes. Nothing short of spectacular. Nissan GTR. Here's a car that I have to say, as a true car enthusiast, you're going to appreciate. Now, there's a Nismo, there's a standard model. Standard model gets you a manual 6-speed transmission or a 9-speed automatic. The 9-speed had a recall where it could potentially roll away. I always say, you know, the manual is always going to be a little bit more fun to drive, but either way, it suits the need. There's a Nismo that steps up 20 horsepower, but the base trim like this gets you 400 horsepower out of a 3-liter V6 turbocharged, and the Nismo gets you up to 420 horsepower. It's a great car, a throwback from the past, great rims, beautiful mirrors. Gotta like the Z car badging, the rear taillight assembly on the Z, which is a 400Z, essentially to say, look, it's got about 400 horsepower, and look at the handles are great, and it's an overall really flashy car. I love the new Z car, great interior finishing, great style and throwback. But the Nismo definitely amps up the looks with the style on the front grille, amps up the brake suspension, gives you a little more power, and of course for a little bit more money. But there's a new element, because right now, currently, the Z Nismo only comes with an automatic transmission, whereas if you wait long enough, right around the corner, there's word the Nismo will be coming with a manual gearbox, and you'll truly get the best of the entire driving experience. I had a 280ZX many years ago, and I love that car. This is basically a new version of that. You can't go wrong with this. A tried and true reliable engine. Even though it's turbocharged, it's one of their workhorses. Also with a torque converter automatic transmission or a manual means none of that CVT nonsense here. You've got a fun car that's great to drive. On top of it, it's been a great seller for Nissan. It's a wonderful car, throwback to the past, and you won't find too many more of these cars out there. With the transition to electrification, there's word even Nissan's likely going to be converting and going into something that's more hybrid here in the next few years, and ultimately the Z car like this will eventually wind up as a pure electric vehicle. For now, this is one of the best driving experiences and certainly something that Nissan has to offer. And here's the honorable mention right here. For those that need to transport their family around, the brand new Nissan Pathfinder, while previous generations weren't that great, there was issues. The latest generation now finally features a naturally aspirated 3.5-liter V6 9-speed automatic transmission with just shy of 300 ponies. Lots of features, lots of tech. It's relatively affordable, and it's going to be durable with that V6 engine. That's also something that a lot of manufacturers are doing away with. Even Toyota getting rid of a lot of their V6s, replacing it with the turbocharged 2.4. And this now, in this case, Nissan and the Pathfinder in the latest generation is one of those definitely I would seriously consider buying. And on that note, you want to see my list of the only 3 small trucks I would buy? Considering the Frontier is one of them, there's the other 2 right there. You're gonna want to check out that video. Very popular. If you're not necessarily sold on the Frontier, I've got a couple other great ones you might want to look at. Hope to see each and every one real soon, everybody. See you then. Bye-bye.